Hey, welcome to Mary Walter Radio. It is great to have you. This is the 4th of July edition, the Independence Day edition. And so I'm so glad you joined me. Thank you for that. Today, I'm going to be airing our interview we did with Sean Spicer. It was the first one I did in a series of taking political figures and doing non-political interviews with them. So Sean was a lot of fun. So in case you missed it, we'll be re-airing that. But before I do that, please, if you have not done so, please like the podcasts. Go back on YouTube and watch old ones. You can go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Look for Mary Walter Radio on any of them, and you can listen to older podcasts. And as I said, please like them. Also, please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so lately. What is that? Oh, thank you. The IT department just came running down the stairs. I'm like, what is all going on? Yay! He's the prop department as well. Yay! Thank you. Thank you, IT department. Thank you, prop department. Yay! um, so please subscribe to the channel, and as I said, please like the podcast. We really appreciate that. Programming note: so coming up, since today is Tuesday, tomorrow, Wednesday, July 5th, as well as the 6th and the 7th. So the rest of this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I will be co-hosting the morning show on WPHT in Philadelphia, 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time with Mike Opelka. So that should be a lot of fun. Now, I've never co-hosted with Mike Opelka before, and I'm going to be in Jersey, and he's going to be in Delaware. So it should be pretty interesting to see how that works out. I think there's going to be a lot of trial and error very early in the morning. Later tomorrow, later during the day, from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, again, I will be in for Guy Benson on the Fox News Radio Network. So if you want to watch the morning shows that we will listen to the morning shows that Mike and I will be doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on WPHT out of Philadelphia. You can look up WPHT online, or you can look for WPHT on the Odyssey app. To listen to the Guy Benson Show, 3 to 6 p.m. tomorrow on Fox News Radio. If you have the Fox News app, all you have to do is there is a radio link there. You can click that and listen to the Guy Benson Show. His show does air nationwide. If you go to radio.foxnews.com, so radio.foxnews.com, and there's a station finder there, and you just put your zip code in, it'll let you know if it's airing locally, or you could just listen to it online right there at radio.foxnews.com. Thursday, yep, this is a crazy week. Thursday, after the morning show on PHT with Mike Opelka, that is 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. From noon to 3 Eastern, I will be in for Dan Bongino. I am so excited. This is my first time getting to guest host for the amazing Dan Bongino, so I'm so happy to be able to do that. So it airs all around the country locally. And of course, you can also just look online, iHeart, I believe, tune in, and you can listen to the Dan Bongino Show, and I will be there. And then Friday, as of right now, just the morning show. And then I'm going to collapse, probably start drinking at 10 a.m. when I get off the air, and enjoy my weekend. So please enjoy the Sean Spicer interview that we're going to air right now. He was so much fun. And remember, he gave me he said 15, 20 minutes that he was going to do this with us. And he talked, and we had so much fun for 45 minutes. So it really was a good time. So I hope you enjoy it. And as I said, please like the podcast, and please subscribe to the channel. Have a wonderful 4th of July. And thank you so much for joining us. I will see you on the radio. So as I've been telling you, I am so excited for our guest tonight, because this is going to be the start of a new installment, a new feature here on Life with Mary Walter, where we get to talk to people who you only know as political figures, or people who only comment on political issues. But they're people too. And I think it would be fun to delve into their lives, behind just the opinions that you get to hear them give, because there's a lot more to a lot of these people than that. And so the guest that's going to kick this off is someone that I just really like, someone who has just been so nice to me, is such a sweet, nice guy. And I think it's just been so vilified in the press. It's just not fair. So Sean Spicer, thank you for joining me. It is great to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Yeah, and I can't believe you're just like, yeah, that sounds cool. I'll do it. So I'm super happy that you did that because you gave me an idea to just like really, this is something I really want to do. And so I'm going to expand this out hopefully from here. What is interesting that I found about you to start off is that you have written a children's book, and I want to put it up here. There it is, The Parrots Go Bananas. And I thought, wow, that is so cool because, if you listen to the left, you are the devil incarnate. So why would the devil be writing a children's book? Why did you do this? Is this something you've always wanted to do?
Funny thing is, I actually did when I approached a publisher several years back, and they said, most people don't start with a children's book. It's really not on brand, if you will. And so I wrote 3 serious books, and then I was approached by bravebooks.com. That's actually what they do. Brave Books writes children's books that are Christian and patriotic in nature. And they had said, hey, we'd love to team up with you. They generally sit down and have a quick discussion with you, like what's in your wheelhouse. They wrote one with Dan Crenshaw. So he wrote one about bravery. Go figure. The guy's a real tough guy.
He is.
And I said, well, I know politics, I know the media, and we started kind of having this brainstorming session. And we talked about fake news and what it's like as kids to be accused of it. I've got 2 12-year-old kids. And so we talked about not necessarily fake news and dealing with it in the media, but oftentimes kids are accused of something. And then everyone piles on and jumps on the bandwagon. And that's something that kids can relate to. So the characters in this book are accused of cheating in this game. You can see it on the cover there. And they get exonerated, but it's through a lot of, they go through a lot. I mean, you think of Nick Sandman, the young student who was from Covington Catholic High School, who was accused of a bunch of nefarious things at the base of the Lincoln Memorial. And it wasn't until the additional video came out that he was exonerated. So it's kind of, and I've had my own experiences where, you're falsely accused of stuff. And then once the circumstances change, but the apology never seems to right the ship, if you will. Once the damage has been done, it's out there. And so I wrote this with Brave Books, and they have a series. You can go to bravebooks.com, bravebooks.us, and you could actually get the book for $1 right now if you sign up and you subscribe to their series. But they've got a ton of great authors, and every month there's always something out there that you can feel good about giving your kids and letting them read. So my kids are older; they're 12. And so they read on their own. And I know that when they read one of the Brave books that they're going to learn something that I don't have to have an explaining or, go explain it for them at the end. If they're younger, 4 to 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there, you can read it to them. There's exercises in the back. Jack Posobiec wrote one about communism and the dangers of it. So they're all fun. They're all great natured. Anyway, so it was a fun experience for me.
How much input did your kids have into this book?
They had a decent amount. I mean, we would sit down, go over different drafts, and they would tell me they would, sometimes it was the illustrations, sometimes it was the words and the scenario, but they played a very critical role in helping me get this thing right.
Yeah, I love the idea of Brave Books. It's bravebooks.com. Go check it out because there are the books really do teach a lesson, but it's a lesson that you want your kids to learn. It seems like when we were growing up, everything was a lesson. Like I grew up on the Brady Bunch, and every week you learned a life lesson from the Brady Bunch. And I always tell my nieces, I'm like, every life lesson can be learned from the Brady Bunch. And I eventually got them the DVDs when they were kids, and they loved them. They just kept wanting to see more and more and more of them. And we've kind of gotten away from that. Why? So I like this.
The great thing about this book, though, is all it teaches you is to be a good person, to not jump to conclusions, to think the best of people, and to maybe have a little bit of forgiveness in your heart. I don't know why that would be controversial to anybody. And so that's the beauty of these things, is that it's to your point about the Brady Bunch. I remember it was always something about, Peter did this at the end, or Marcia or Alice taught them the lesson. And that's the same thing. We're missing that now. You've got a group of folks on the left who've realized that they can use the tools that they've been given from Hollywood and on YouTube and the internet to indoctrinate kids. So it's important to have another side to this. The thing is though, we're not using our tools to indoctrinate them. I think, like I said, we're just saying, learn, be a good person. That's a very, very different tactic.
Agree, but my fear is that there is such, I don't know if it's Trump derangement syndrome, not getting political, but I think they just look at it and go, oh, it's written by Sean Spicer. It must be political. It must be indoctrination. What I think they miss is that, you know what? You have the ability, a lot of people do. I have the ability, you have the ability to separate politics from my life. I don't live it. And I think there are a lot of people who live it, and they're going to miss out on some really great books and a lot of great lessons that they can teach their kids that I think, like you said, we want our kids to know. So how do you break through that? You didn't do it under a pseudonym.
No, I mean, look, you just have to be willing to go out there and engage. I think that's the key. Because you're right. I mean, some of these parents, some of these people, don't want to have that conversation, and you're not going to be able to win them all over. So that's just a reality. But I think part of it is, I've had people watch my show and say, I never thought that that's what I was going to get. And it's the same thing. You got to be willing to get out there and be in that public space. So I go places and do things that might not always be the easiest. I've spoken on a lot of college campuses. I go to different venues. And part of the reason I wrote the book is because, again, I think it's important that we engage with young people. I think the biggest issue is that if we cede the field, then the left is going to take it.
Yes. And I'm glad to see that there is this something that's been missing for conservatives a lot, and that is, the willingness to fight back. And I think the advent of your former boss, Mr. Trump, really taught a lot of people, how to do that and how to fight back. So the book is The Parrots Go Bananas. It's really cute. All the evil goes down in Mushroom Town, by the way.
That's right. Mushroom Village.
Mushroom Village. I'm sorry, Mushroom Village. I didn't know if there's like a double entendre there, with the advent of like legalizing of mushrooms in Oregon and that kind of thing. I wasn't sure.
You're the first one.
Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad I'm the first for something. There we go. So, did you ever? So you've always had this passion or this interest in writing a children's book, but if you look back, when you were younger, where did you think your life would be? What did you think?
Just to be clear, since I've had kids, because I think that
okay,
that's why I wanted to. My kids are 12 now. I thought a couple more years and you start getting to like creeper territory when they're like, my kids are 18. You're like, what are you writing a kid's book? So I figured if I didn't start now, it would be
okay.
I think it's fun, when you have them, like you were asking before, it's fun to be able to engage them. And this is the first project. I've written 3 other books. And, aside from looking at some of the pictures and having a discussion, it's not like they've been able to read them or care about one or even wanting to read them. This one, they were able to partake in it. And it was a fun family experience.
Is that something you see continuing? You talk about as they get older. Is that something that you maybe see as like something you could continue to do with them with older topics for older kids?
It's a good question. I think we'll have to see. I'm all for letting them figure out what path they want to take, and if they want to engage in certain projects, I'm all for it. We've been very protective of the kids and trying to keep them out of the spotlight. But as they grow older, if they want to engage more in certain things or projects that I'm involved in, I'm open to it. I think it's just a question of whether it's age appropriate or not.
Right. Absolutely. But I still think it's cool that it's a family thing that you got to do. So looking back when you were their age, where did you think your career would be? What was, you said, when I look at my life, this is what I want to do. I want to go do this. Where did you think you would be? What would you be doing?
So like in grade school, I think, if I recall correctly, I think I wanted to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and I wasn't entirely sure what the difference was. I don't know entirely why, but I remember that was it. And then I went to like a lawyer phase. But it was always those were the main, there was a business phase that lasted for a while, but those were the big ones.
Yeah. Now you had a naval career. You were in the Naval War College is where you went to school, and then you served 20 years, right? You worked for the Navy for 20 years.
23.
23 years.
It's like running a marathon. I've done a few marathons, and everyone goes, "Oh, it's like 20 miles," and I'm like 26.2. And that 0.2 is important because if you ever do the Marine Corps, that last 0.2 is going up to Iwo Jima, and it's got an incline to it. I'm like, the 0.2 matters. Trust me.
It surely does. So you didn't mention like that was something that you were thinking of doing when you were younger. I didn't
get into the military until like that. Well, so I actually tried several times when I was in my early 20s, and they didn't have none of so the programs that they have now. They didn't have. In terms of, there were a lot of programs that the programs that they have now allow for advanced pay grade and a session where you could come in with a college degree, and they had all of these training requirements that you had to go off for, I think it was 16 weeks and such. And for a variety of reasons, it never fit. And so it never worked out for me. Initially, actually, I really wanted to join the Coast Guard. I grew up in Rhode Island, and we grew up on the water. So the Coast Guard was something near and dear to my heart. I have a family history in the Navy, which is what drew me that. But when you deal with the Coast Guard a lot more, when you see them, there's something very special about the role that they play in the country and keeping our waterways safe. So anyway, I started my professional career in politics, and then after a while, I became aware of, again, they started coming up with a lot more programs, and there was a program that was available for folks that allowed professionals into the Navy in a way that they hadn't before. And so a friend of mine told me about it. I applied and got in when I was 29 years old.
That's great. That's fantastic. It was something you wanted to do. And it's nice to hear that you pursued it and just didn't say, oh, you know what? I'm 29. I got to start my career. I got to get going in this direction. And then you let it go. And 2 fun facts. My husband works with the Coast Guard Auxiliary. He flies for the Coast Guard Auxiliary. He's a pilot. And honestly, if he were younger when 9/11 happened, he would have enlisted. He would have gone in because he's a flight surgeon for them. So because he's a physician as well. So he understands the whole Coast Guard thing. And
very cool.
And the uniform's totally hot, right? And I wanted to go into I was a psychology major for 1 whole semester at Villanova until I found out that you had to dissect rat, you had to put electrodes on rats' brains and stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm out. So that was my short-lived psychology career. I wanted that as well. I liked that, but that was the end of that.
Okay.
So do you have siblings?
I have 1 of each. Yeah. I'm the oldest.
So there's 3 of you. I am as well. I'm the oldest. There's 3 of you. Were you one of your parents' favorite children? Because mom has a favorite and dad has a favorite. Were you one of the favorites? And if you were or not?
I don't know. I got to think so. Look, I think my parents are very fair. We're all very different. But I don't know. I got to be careful.
All right. You're being politically correct. That's fine. But your siblings know too. You guys all know. We all know who's the favorites. In high school, were you popular?
So I went to a very small school. I don't know. I wouldn't say I was the popular kid by any means. I had a good amount of friends, you know what I mean? And I went out. I don't know. I definitely wasn't like the popular kid, but I had a good group of friends.
So you were, especially when you're in a smaller school, everybody knows the pecking order, right? We are all well aware of where we stand on that social ladder. So you definitely were closer to the top because you are incredibly charming.
Well, thank you. I was somewhere. I was probably middle plus.
Okay. All right. You're like upper middle class on the ladder. Now, I know you went to the prom because when we talked about you doing this, I said, well, I'm going to ask you things like, did you go to the prom? And you immediately turned around and told me your prom date's name, which I thought was pretty impressive. Are you still in touch with her?
So, I went to so I went to an all boys school.
Okay.
So we had a prom, and then we had several girls' schools that we were kind of friendly with. so I went to mine, and then I went to a couple of theirs, junior and senior year. And every time it was someone different every time, but no, I don't think I'm in touch with any one of them directly. So one of them is cousins with a friend of mine who I stay in touch with. So indirectly, yes, but yeah, but no, there's not one that I'm actually like in any way, shape, or like I'm not in Facebook friends with any of them actually.
Okay. And that is the denominator. Are you Facebook friends or not? Because when someone dumps you on Facebook, that's like the end. Like that's the ultimate. So wait, so you went to how many proms between junior and senior year?
I would say I think I probably went to 4, right? So there was mine. So I went to my junior, my senior, and then I think I went to like at least one other each year.
Wow. And pretty impressive considering I did not go to my prom. So, because I wasn't popular. I was a dork. I'm the kid who voluntarily took Latin senior year and got straight A's in it because I had too many study halls.
So I was the person that sat next to you when it was required my sophomore year and was like, so what did Caesar do?
Yeah. So my lab part, it's so funny. I'm in touch with everybody from high school. We're pretty much all in touch. My class had almost 500 people, but we've been in school since 2nd grade together. So everybody knows everybody, and you went in and out of friendships. So my lab partner senior year for physics class, and it was just an easy physics class I was just taking, and I needed another science. And so my lab partner senior, I just found out, we were at another classmate's funeral, that he was a baseball player. He was basketball player, nice guy, always stoned, always high, right? And I didn't realize that he was also high during school. And I'm like, is that why you continually messed up our experiments? He's like, you didn't know? He goes, I picked you as my lab partner because I figured you'd do everything. I'm like, really?
Smart move.
So you're not the only one who had the idea to sit next to me. I want to know, when you're home alone and there's no one around, what will you eat when no one else is around? Is there something you don't want anyone else to catch you eating?
No. I mean,
really?
No, I don't.
There's like no Malamar every now and then. Maybe some like kids cereal or something. A little Count Chocula.
Oh no! I mean, there's a difference between that. I mean, like is there like a couple things here and there that like, yeah. I mean, I've had a bowl of cereal probably every couple months or something. That if it was like some kind of treat for my kids, like normally they have Cheerios, I think, over there in the pantry. I hate Cheerios, so I don't ever do. But like my daughter's in the Girl Scouts. She has Girl Scout. I know that's something that you always eat, but like, so every once in a while I might grab one of those or something like that, but it's not like I'm like secretly, it's nothing that if my wife walked downstairs, I'd be like, stuffing under the counter.
No, but I will tell you every now and then, because we love Girl Scout cookies. I was involved with the Girl Scouts till I was 18 because I'm a dork. And then I also got involved with Girl Scout fundraising on the council level later on. So there's always Girl Scout cookies in our house, in the freezer, because they freeze fantastically. And if they're in the freezer, you forget about them. So that's great. But like every now and then I will buy a box of Frosted Flakes, or I'll buy a box of Count Chocula every now and then. And I just put it in the back of the cabinet because especially Count Chocula, my husband will be like, really? That's what you're eating? What happened to keto? Like,
well, like I do love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Like that's,
yes.
But it's not like, what'll happen is my kids will have been with my wife at the grocery store or with me or something. And they'll say, hey, can I get that? And I'll say, sure. And then that's when I'll steal it from them. But I mean, it's only on those occasions. Like I won't buy it on my own.
Yeah. Okay. Well, every now and then I will. I don't have children to blame it on. You have the cover of blaming the kids. When they're out of the house, you're going to buy it on your own, guaranteed. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is fantastic. Okay. So since we are pre-taping this and we're not doing this live, which all the viewers are going to know because they can leave comments, right? So I asked people, what do you want me to ask Sean? everyone wants to know about the yellow puffy shirt from Dancing with the Stars. It was like a lime green. And you, by the way, are the only season I ever watched of Dancing with the Stars because you were on it. You know why? Because they were so horrible to you. The media, the press, everyone. And you were such a good sport about it. I was like, man, that it was just such a display of dignity and class. And you looked like you were having such fun. And I just loved that. So everyone wants to know, do you have the shirt?
Yeah, well, so first, I did have a ton of fun. It was a great experience. I tell people all the time, I've told the crew and the executives on the show that, look, they've talked about, there's always rumors, put it that they haven't talked about. There's rumors of specials and things. And I've said, hey, if you ever do it, I don't care what it is, I'll come back. I had a blast. It's a great crew. They're a fun, professional group of people, and I enjoyed them. So here's the real interesting thing about this. We raffled the shirt off for 3 veterans organizations that I'm associated with.
Oh.
And we got $4,000 for it. And the shirt got lost in the mail. So here's the secret. So we ended up, it got blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'll save you the thing. And they made me a brand new one. The guy, the costume designer. So I have that here in the house.
Do you every now and then just put it on?
Yeah. Like yesterday,
dance around.
Home, I put it on, walked around for a little bit.
I'd love to see you out in the front yard cutting the lawn in that.
Yeah. The neighbors get a little wigged out, but I mean, sorry.
So if money were no object, where would you be right now? And what would you be doing instead of talking to me?
Somewhere warmer. I don't know.
Sailing?
I love the water. I mean, I love, not when I say the water, just so clear, I am an ocean guy. So I would love to be probably somewhere off of an island doing something on the water. Running some kind of like marina with a bar.
Oh my! It's so funny. So many people have that dream. It's like, when I hit the lottery,
like
I'm
Tom
going to
Cruise
go
and
to
cocktail.
Yes.
But I want to rent. I want to have boats. I think he just had the bar.
Well, you have the shirt for the bar.
That might be a little bright.
Yeah, I always say I want to just like rent beach chairs for $5 on some
the problem with the
somewhere.
beach chairs, you got to pick up the beach chairs, you got to drop them off. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Or I could just hire someone to do it for me.
That's true. But I do. I will say this: there's a lot of people who say, like, if I won the lottery, I still have to work. I'm like, yeah, bye. Like, I would do things. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't sit around. I have a lot of projects I'd love to do. I mean, and things that I'd love to investigate. And I'd probably write a lot more. I'd take some classes. I mean, I'd keep busy. That would not be a problem. But if you think I'm working a 9-to-5 job, you're kidding yourself.
I'm with you. I laugh at these people like, I want to continue working. I'm like, okay.
I mean, I would show up at like town hall meetings and just eviscerate like local elected officials. I mean, you know what I mean? It would just be fun being like, so councilman, I've waited 4 hours. I mean, why not?
You have nothing to lose at that point. What are they going to do? Fire you?
Right. But that would be fun. It'd just be like, let's go have, and just run, like call up. Like, I mean, I've run a couple presidential, done 6 years at the RNC, 2 presidential cycles. I'd love to find like some guy who's running for like, county something or other and be like, hey, I'll tell you what, let's come in. I'm going to raise you some real money and we're going to take this thing to the next level.
That's hilarious. You've clearly put some thought into this.
Yeah. Well, I'm the kind of guy, I buy lottery tickets when, when they send this thing like the Powerball will hit $1 billion, I go and buy it. And then for like the walk back to my car, I spend it in my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, because I want to, like, I'm going to open, I shouldn't tell you everything because I don't want to give it away. But I have a couple I want to open some things I'm going to do some charitable things too, just so you know. But then, I mean, like, I'm going to live well.
Yeah.
But I've already spent somewhere close to a few $100 million in my head.
I'm with you on that one. But what I do is I do the opposite. When it goes up to like billions, like over $1 billion or, 900 million and everybody's buying tickets, I buy the other lottery that's only at like 100 million because nobody's buying those tickets. So
The
I
odds
figure
are the
my
same, you know that, right?
chances, I'm sorry.
The odds are the same.
Could you not rain on my parade right now?
I'm just
I I think there are fewer people buying tickets so I can win. Now I realize that just because there isn't always a guaranteed winner. So I realize that in my brain that odd thing doesn't work.
right.
But I figure I can live on $100 million. Granted, after taxes, it's like 50, but I can still live on that and still live out pretty much most of my dreams.
Okay. Fair enough.
Thank you. One last question. I know you have to go. I promised Katie I would keep this short to a certain time. What's the best advice someone ever gave you that it sticks in your brain? You're like, wow, that was great advice.
There's two pieces of advice. The first one, and I wrote about this in my first book, is when I first moved to DC, I went and I had like a sort of an informational interview. And this guy, I had a lunch. I coached a sailing team in Stamford, Connecticut, and he was the father of one of my students. And at the lunch, he had said he'd be helpful to me finding a job. And I said, what do you want to do? And I said, I'll do anything. And he said to me, there are no jobs for anything. Figure out what you want to do and let me know. And it resonated with me very poignantly because there are people, and I find myself on the opposite end of that now, where I get called, not all the time, enough. And people say, hey, can I sit down? Like I'm moving to DC, or my kid's moving to DC, and can you help them? And I was like, well, what can I do? What? And they go, I'll do anything. I'm like, look, I'm not your guidance counselor. I don't mean to be a jerk here, but like, I'm not here to make 15 phone calls for you. If you tell me that you've put an application in these 5 places because they have a job opening and you need help, I'm glad to make the phone call for you. I'm glad to call or follow up or whatever.
Right.
But I don't have 5 hours to go through a bunch of questions in Myers-Briggs with you and figure out what job is best for you. And I mean, that's not, go find somebody else on the internet to do that for you. And so it was really profound early on in my career to realize that, like, hey, look, you're going to get the opportunity to sit down with some important people. Use that time. It wasn't just about the job. It was use those opportunities in the right way. Right. So when you get the opportunity, maximize it. The second is a former Marine Corps commandant by the name of Charles Krulak. And he said, in the absence of leadership, take charge. And I think that that's extremely important, especially in politics, but frankly, anywhere else, is that there's too often where people sit around and say, they're floundering and, we're waiting. And it's like, you know what, at some point, the man with the plan gets 90%. And so in the absence of leadership, take charge. And I think that's missing in too many circumstances where no one wants to, everyone else wants to be guided or wait for something to happen. And like I said, I just have started to realize that, if you really want an outcome that benefits you, and I don't mean benefits you personally all the time, but sort of if you thought something through and you think that your plan is better than everybody else's, that your strategic direction is more appropriate, then come up with a plan and execute it and take charge, but don't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. I want to let you go. The book, I don't want to get yelled at by Katie. The book is The Parrots Go Bananas. The Parrots Go Bananas, bravebooks.com. You can catch Sean on Newsmax TV Monday through Friday from 5 to 6 with Lindsay Keith, who is amazing and so nice and even more beautiful in person. I don't know how she does that. Sean, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I hope you had fun. I hope it was, what you expected. It was everything I expected. So thank you. I really, really
it was
appreciate
everything
it.
And more, Mary. Everything more.
I'll send you a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, careful. Those and tagalongs, bad news. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great